All right. So a comment on last week, that was a complete character win. We had every opportunity as a team to turn on each other, to fold, to think that close games can't go our way, and just the way that the game unfolded with two huge uncharacteristic mistakes and two pick sixes. We're kind of, in so many ways dominating the outcome of the game, but the scoreboard wasn't showing that. And I've just felt like our team could be, at that point, fragile. Could have gotten fragile, could have gotten into the finger pointing game, and we didn't. So an ugly win, maybe some people would call that. I wouldn't argue with that. We cleaned some things up, and it's a game that where maybe we could have won by multiple scores coming out of there. I told the team all week, I thought that Houston Christian was one of the most athletic, most physical teams that we would face all season long. And so I think we responded to that challenge. Obviously, hard to predict all the mental challenges that would arise in that game. But to get so many stops and to be able to punch it in at the end in a short yardage situation, I thought we exercised some demons. In the short yardage, still wasn't perfect, still need to get better. But overall, really happy that we could come out of there with a win on the road. I also think it was a real jump forward, a real leap forward for a lot of our players that got their first game action on that last drive in overtime. We had two true freshmen on the field. We had guys getting carries that hadn't gotten carries all year long in that football game. We had a lot of guys go down in the game. I look at our next opponent, who opened up with 3 straight tough road games and took a lot of injuries, maybe not season enders, but guys for Idaho State were out, for a week or two, and now they appear to be getting back to full strength. We were kind of the opposite. We opened up with a Division II opponent and then went at home and then went on the road for 3 straight weeks against 3 good teams, and now we're banged up. So it's going to be a real challenge for us. We've got a very competent Idaho State team coming here. They're one of the best passing attacks by design and personnel in the country, and a real test for us in a way that we have not been tested to this point defensively. And they do a great job with their identity and their plan on offense, and they will find where you're weak. If you're going to just be in pass defense sets all game, they'll go right to the run game. And they also do a really good job of just figuring out your leverages and attacking those during the game. Probably the best offense that we've studied in terms of being able to adjust on the fly. Defensively, they really shored up. Last season had some difficulties and some games get out of hand, and made some changes on their defensive staff. Doing a great job over there. They really play hard on defense. They have a lot of different sets and coverages and that they run. They've become a little more aggressive at times in what they do, and they're very solid on the special teams. They, I told our team, and I'll continue to say all week, we're playing a Mountain West Conference caliber opponent. They went on the road at 2 of the hottest teams in the Mountain West and had the lead in the 4th quarter. So everything that we could ask for in terms of a challenge at a time that's going to be really difficult for us as we work through some minor injuries, thankfully, but injuries nonetheless. A real challenge for us. We practiced in a driving rain all day yesterday. That presented some real challenges, and I was really grateful that it was such a difficult environment to practice in. I think it challenged our guys mentally, and they came out and practiced as hard as they could. Wasn't the cleanest practice, but they practiced really hard. Well, from day one, if anybody was paying attention, they heard me say that I thought that our path to championship level football was Colorado high school kids, Colorado high school recruiting, the development of those Colorado high school kids. I would really have liked to see that show up earlier in my tenure here and not have such an abysmal win-loss record. But, a lot of that's in the rearview mirror. And what I see right now it's a team based of Colorado high school recruits Even most of our transfers are guys coming back to Colorado from other outside institutions outside the state. And I'm seeing those guys show up and play a big role for the Bears and take a lot of pride in playing for UNC. I think we're going to have good, solid retention, camaraderie. I think there's a regional cohesiveness that we're building, and I think there's a recognition amongst the players that they've built themselves and each other side by side, and I think there's some real strength in that. Like I said, I always thought that was our best path, and it's encouraging to see that start to show up. I'm not aware whether the chatter is positive or negative. I think anyone that wants to put a negative spin on our results so far, my total results or just the results this year can. I've heard people say, around the neighborhood or friends or even family, hey, you guys could easily be 4-0. We could also easily be 1-3 right now. And, I really keep my focus more on the team than the program, especially during the season. I think like program assessments are good for the off season, good for my private moments, but these players are just this team this year, especially in the era of transfer portal. And I know this team fights to the end every game. That's my focus, is that we respect every opponent on our schedule, but we bow to no one, and that we fight for 4 quarters plus whatever it takes every week. That's my assessment is right now. We have that team, and I'm so proud to be the coach of that team right now that will fight till the end. There is a belief right now, football is a really unique sport in that the offense and defense is separate. They often practice separate, they have separate languages, and yet they come together and win or lose together. And so it's such an art sometimes, especially through difficult starts of the season, is to be able to help them realize that we are on the same team. We try to compete each other in practice, against each other in practice, and we try to foster that competition and then yet somehow leave that behind for game day. I think right now one of the things I'm most proud of is that it's one team, and I think our defense is ready to compete for 4+ quarters in a high-scoring game or a low-scoring game, and I think our offense is the same. I heard great chatter on the sidelines. I mean, overcoming 2 pick sixes is on the road in a low-scoring game is probably statistically impossible. I don't know if you could find another game that is that low-scoring. A team on the road throws 2 pick sixes. I think in a high-scoring game, or in a game where the team that was throwing those pick sixes maybe gets a punt return for a touchdown or something, we had nothing like that. We were trying to win with the ground game, run the clock, and the clock kept getting set back against us, and instant scores for the opponent without our defense even touching the field. That is such a test of character of the defensive players and the defensive coaches, and they didn't flinch. And from an offensive perspective, they never lost confidence, drove down for what could have been the game-winning field goal. We weren't able to execute it in that moment, but then drove for the game-winning score in overtime. So I think right now, if there's anything that I would allow the players to feel good about, it's just our ability to fight for 4 quarters. To take a small sample size of a few opponents and say we've arrived or we're ready for this or that would be foolish. Leave that stuff behind us where it belongs and keep fighting. It's always a little bit of a guess, the mindset. I've been describing my mindset, and I communicate my mindset to them, is that the rearview mirror is small for the reason, and the windshield is big for a reason. We got to keep our eyes out in front of us. We're playing, regardless of what the rankings say, and regardless of who the media footprint in the Big Sky says is the big game this week. The big game in the Big Sky is Idaho State at UNC. That's for our 2 teams. I can tell you that Coach Hawkins and the Idaho State boys are coming down here to play for first place in the conference, and we're here to play for first place in the conference. That's what's on the line. That's my mindset. I believe that's where our players are at as well. Yes, I think number one, I would say we often can fall into the trap, in football coaches, anybody, it's an easy sport to fall into the trap of saying, hey, we haven't been able to run the ball for 3 weeks, which is like 3 opponents, or we haven't been able to stop the run for 3 weeks. And that's real data to use, but you you wouldn't say that in basketball for 3 games or a sport that you played more often. And so a lot of times the ability to run the ball, to stop the run, to pass the ball, to win, to lose, it has a lot to do with the opponent that you're playing and the strength of the opponent. And so this wouldn't be giving anything away. Idaho State can see this on video. We didn't do anything new. So credit the coaches for sticking with our identity and our philosophy, and credit the players with improving their skills and fundamentals and delivering a better product in terms of being able to run the football more consistently and being able to stop the run more consistently. It's just on them and their performance. And I don't mean to take anything away from Houston Christian. I think they were a real challenge and really solid in both of those areas. We had real concerns about being able to run the football against their front. And the offensive line, running backs, the whole offense responded well.
So it basically just breaks down to a matter of kind of like almost will and determination, guys creating the hole, getting off the blocks, just things simple as that.
Skills and fundamentals. There's always, I can walk around practice at any time. Sometimes it crosses my mind, like I'll look around and say we're not playing low enough. And then like every guy I'm looking at is not low enough. And so then I'm hustling around, trying to get everybody, even the coaches, stand lower, you put some bend in your knees. It's like it becomes, there's always something to improve on. And I think that's where I want to credit last week's improvement in those areas, is just improvement with the same stuff that we've been doing. Well, the first thing I'd say is it's hard to score 90 points on air. In terms of being able to pass the ball, run the ball that efficiently, not get penalties, and like there's a 90-0 game is something for their team to be proud of, to accomplish that against anybody. And just knowing, Lincoln has some challenges. That's my hometown area. I know Coach Gums, their head coach. I know what they're trying to do. They're giving kids that otherwise wouldn't have a chance to play at a great opponent like Idaho State. They're giving them a chance to put a little bit out there on film, maybe even get them an opportunity to be recruited in the current era of transfer portal. So I know there's probably some people that look at that game and say, oh, what are they doing? Why would you put up 90 points? Or why would you do that? Idaho State I don't think they have a tight end or a fullback on their roster. They don't have, their football philosophy is not to develop and be able to execute a 4-minute drill down the field. Like, they recruited their players to be a pass first, up tempo, run the ball into favorable boxes as often as possible offense. And so they were just doing what they should do. And I think that just having recruited a ton of players from Oakland my whole career, that's exactly what those Lincoln players wanted, was Idaho State's very best effort.